if you make a change, sometimes that will really help you figure that out.
Yeah. And to be honest, you have to risk a lot to get a lot. And that's exactly like my mindset of like, if you don't go after what you want, you're never going to get what you want.
So no risk it, no biscuit, right?
Dude, I love that you guys brought up risk. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Verity Podcast, and it's my honor here to introduce Allie Updike. Is that your last name?
Yes.
I got it right. Coach Allie, she's been with us for how long?
Probably like 3 weeks now. Yeah.
Has it only been 3 weeks? I said a month this morning while my wife and I were on a walk, and she swore you'd been here longer. And I was like, I don't think so. So anyway, without further ado, we have Coach Allie over here, and as always, I have my co-host, Coach Monroe Miller. Monroe, what's going on, man?
Another day, man. We're just closing out October.
Dude, I can't believe it's almost November.
I know.
I'm floored by that.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I'm doing Movember. I hope you're.
What is Movember?
So Movember is I'm not sure if it's Movember or Movember. I think it's Movember.
Either way, explain it to me.
It's basically you shave a mustache for all of November, and
dude,
it's to help spread awareness around men's health issues, men's mental health, which I've heard about this before, and it was just something I was kind of thinking about, but I had no idea that 60 men every hour on average die from suicide across the world.
The highest, not to start this off on a super negative note, but the highest, I think, suicide group is people our age, 28 to 32. Yeah. I believe that's true. That's interesting. So that's a good thing to be aware of. I will do it. I would 100% do it.
Oh, nice.
The person who will not let me do it is going to be my wife. So
I told Morgan to go pound sand. I was like, yeah.
Oh, man. See, that wouldn't fly in my household.
She was like, no chitty bang bang. I was like, whatever.
So do this.
It's for men.
If you text Sydney after this podcast and you're like, hey, I need Brandon to do something for me. We need to do this as coaches and leaders of this. And if she's like, yes, I will do it with you.
Because you got a nice thickness above your lip.
Yeah, appreciate that. Is that a positive thing?
Yeah, of course, absolutely. I have no idea.
So there's like a movement part of it too. So they had it was like you can run 60 miles or walk 60 miles through the month.
I love that.
Mine's gonna be I want to do 60 Metcons. So there's 30 days. So I have to do 2 Metcons a day. Some are gonna have to be 3, obviously, and I have the Mac in there.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be a few multiple events, but. That's kind of my thing.
60 Metcons.
That's awesome.
That's some volume, man. Yeah. And that's not taking into strength, all that into account as well. That's going to be really cool.
Just conditioning pieces, yeah.
I think I could commit to 60 miles walking. I take a walk every day with my dog. It's one of my favorite parts of the day. But I actually got to map that. I don't know. Anyway, enough about us. Let's go back to Coach Allie here. Coach, talk to us about. I don't really know your story. Monroe does, at least more than I do. Yeah. First, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? How did you end up being in Northern Virginia?
So, like I said, originally I was from Northern Virginia, born and raised here for a little bit, and then we moved around quite a bit as a family, North Carolina, Pennsylvania. I did go out to college out in California, small D2 school, so I did track and field. I was a javelin thrower.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's a little different. Most people are like, "Oh, what did you run?" It's like, no, I threw sticks.
Did you have javelin in high school?
Yeah, so in Pennsylvania, so there was only 13. I think it's 13 states that do it in high school.
I was a big track and field guy. We did not have javelin.
Yeah, Michigan. Yeah, Virginia wasn't one either. So people here don't really. They're like, "Oh, how'd you get into that kind of thing?" But so went out college there.
So, question about just before we move on from javelin in high school. So, the other thing that is in that same realm is shot put, right?
Yes, you had
or the hammer.
Shot put, hammer, and then discus.
So are those 4 events found in the same types of high schools? Your high school had all 4?
No.
And it's or you just had the javelin?
No. So the shot put and discus were the standard for being in high school, but the javelin and the hammer throw were known as dangerous. So some states wouldn't allow those events in high school.
Dangerous from an injury to the athlete or injury to the spectator?
Both.
But they would let you throw a discus? You clock somebody in the head with a discus, they're going down, man.
You clock anybody in the head with anything you're throwing, pretty much.
Right.
They're gonna go down in some sort of fashion. But I don't know really the reasoning, to be honest. But like we didn't have the hammer throw, so I don't know.
So going back, why did you choose to go to California?
I mean, the obvious reason, I got a full ride, so it was something, but it became more than that once I got there. It was, the coach was amazing, the school was amazing, the program, absolutely stellar. So I think it became more than what I could have ever imagined once I got there.
What school was it?
Azusa Pacific University.
That's a cool name too.
Yeah.
Dude, we have a lot of female athletes in the gym that played collegiate sports. I don't know how many dudes did that. Right, because obviously Sydney played, Chelsea did gymnastics. I mean, there's a lot of that. That's very, very cool. What was like the greatest thing that you learned through your college experience doing sports there?
I think it was you're gonna get out of like life what you put into it, and that was exactly the same with like training. Like we had 6 a.m. weights Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but like you could have chose to, I'm just going to half-ass it kind of thing, and nobody's really going to notice, because the track team we had like 60, 70 people. But it was something that I chose every single day. Like, I'm going to show up, I want to be the best, and that's what I went after.
Did you always feel that way, even maybe going back to high school? Because I was a long-distance runner, and I had talent for that, but I hated it, probably outside of my freshman year of high school, which was a successful year. It was very good. But there was a point like junior year of high school where I was just kind of like, I really just don't want to do this, but I'm good at it. And potentially could be a college thing. Didn't work out. But did you just always were you always just basically on fire to just get better and get better, or did that kind of develop over time?
Yeah, no, I think honestly, that was always my passion, was to be an athlete. Like that's something I always wanted to be. I was basketball, soccer, and track in high school, track in college. So it was just kind of one of those things, like that was my life. Like nothing else existed, kind of, that was the thing.
So I have a question about that. What do you think that takes, and do you think that can be taught?
I don't know if it's something that could be taught. I think it's something that, like, one, your environment as you grow up kind of alludes to. But I could say, like, my brother and I are completely different. Not good or bad. He played sports, but it wasn't his, like, he didn't go hard after it. Like, he didn't care necessarily. He cared more about, like, social life and stuff like that. So it's like, but for me, like, it was something that I just grabbed onto and wouldn't let go. Like, I think it was something, like, I think somewhat in, like, my family and, like, our genetics, we have that, like, personality type of, like, very habitual, like, I like routine, I like all that. And so I took that and ran with it of, like, that's what I'm going to go after.
Yeah, that's very cool. I definitely fall into the category of kind of how your brother went up. Like, I cared a lot more about social life, and I've always been active and stuff, right? But not to that degree where I was just like, I really want to be good, especially at track and field. So what happened after college?
So I did compete a little bit after college. I went to the 2016 Olympic trials for
that
track.
Is really cool.
Yeah, I went up to, that was one of the most, like, memorable experiences of my life.
Is that a small knit community of the people that get to go there, or is there quite a couple hundred people that get to go?
I would say
and put on a display there.
No, like, I think it was top 20 in the whole U.S. got to go.
Wow, that's really impressive, Allie. That's very cool. There was a guy who owned the first gym that I went to, Joe Cebulski.
Oh, yeah, I know him.
He was a decathlete. Super dude. Runs CrossFit 8 Day. Shout out to those guys up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Don't know if he was in there 2016. That might have been his last year. I have no idea. And I don't expect you to know him either. But top 20, that's incredible. Did you do all four of the throws? Did you specialize in one? What'd you do?
I specialized in the javelin. I did try, like, my coach was like, hey, let's branch out and try, like, some of the other ones. And I was not good. I was more of a linear sport athlete.
Do you watch javelin, like, when the Olympics are on, or are you like, let me go on NBC and find javelin?
So I did.
Do you know who the good javelin throwers are?
So not anymore. Like, I was super into it. Like, I was super into track, and I watched, they have, like, the European tour and whatever, but not anymore necessarily. But I did for the past Olympics this summer. I, of course, was like, I'm going to YouTube and watch it, because it's not, not going to be CBS, like,
I mean,
prime
that's
time.
what we're doing with the CrossFit Games. I mean, that's every bit comparable to that. I was going to ask you one other question about that, but I can't remember what it was going to be. Anyway, so eventually you found CrossFit.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
It was me leaving the sport, track and field. I kind of took 2 or 3 months off. I kind of was just...
You didn't do CrossFit at all before?
Nope. I didn't even know.
Oh.
I was that person that
You
made
did
fun of...
lifting?
Yeah, a little bit. Not too much. I was actually really terrible at it. Like, I had the donkey kick, like that fun stuff. I wish I actually need to find a video
So when you
for
say morning weights, like...
It was like back squat, deadlift, like powerlifting more, like bench, like, and then like some plyo stuff, like, you know, we did box jumps, we did like broad jumps, like that kind of stuff, sled drags. So that's what I mean by like morning weights.
If you were coaching yourself at that time, would you have said powerlifting is the way?
I would say CrossFit. I would say I feel like so much more of an athlete now than I ever did, which is crazy. And I lift so much more now than I ever did. So like if I could put this power into what I had the technique wise, I'm like, that could be dirty.
Tangent?
Yeah, go.
Dude, we can go on whatever tangent you want to go
Before
on.
we talk about like more your experience at CrossFit, so like you have said multiple times, I want to be an athlete.
Yeah.
Okay, so like what do you think that means? Because Morgan the other night was like, she's like, well, I want to be an athlete. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, well, you know, I want to like be competitive and I'm like, well, aren't you doing Wadapalooza? She was like, yeah, but that's for fun. I'm like, well, don't go do it for fun. What are you
competitively,
doing?
yeah.
Like, go compete. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, what do you think, like, what is, and I was asking her, I'm like, what do you think being an athlete is? Like, she has this idea of like, I'm an athlete. I'm like, and you've said that a few times, so I'm like,
yeah. I think for me, it's not I want to be, like, I know I'm an athlete now. I think it's for me, it's like knowing that there's a process that it takes to get to where you want. And like, you're never going to hit the pinnacle necessarily. You're not going to know when you hit the pinnacle of your athleticism. Because you're always going to be striving for better or more.
Okay, so at what point do you change from average Joe to athlete?
I
Because
think
if you work for Nike, they tell you that you're an athlete.
true. And then, well, the thing too, like even like firefighting, like I was technically a tactical athlete. That's what they call them. Like, so it's not necessarily like me saying, oh, I want to be an athlete. It's more of like, I want to continuously progress towards my goals and my dreams. And sometimes they shift and sometimes they get altered, but it's like continuously going through that journey and knowing that like it's okay to change the journey, but also always put being an athlete first.
So what do you think that means? Because like, I know that at least at the CrossFit gym that I started at, which was very like classic, like no frills, forging elite fitness kind of thing. We were all called athletes. We called it the box. We said it's the WOD, and we said, hey, you know, the athletes in my class. But like, you know, as time has evolved, you know, we call our members. You know, we don't call them athletes.
Yeah.
But like, for Morgan to say like, I want to be an athlete, and me to be like,
What does that mean?
you're really fit. Like, I don't know why you're saying that. So what do you think that?
Are you asking me this question?
Yeah, I'm asking you this question.
Yeah.
Like, where when you like see someone in their athletic journey, is it once they find consistency with working out? Is it like, what do you, where do you go from being a normal person to saying, oh, that's an athlete over there?
Dude, I don't know. I had a really good conversation, previous podcast, with an old member of ours, an athlete, whatever you want to call it, with Holly Suarez. And one of the things that she loved about the CrossFit gym is she thought of herself as an athlete, and she had never thought of herself like that before. I don't think she played sports or anything growing up, but she came in here, and there was an opportunity to do something faster, lift more weight. You had an objective, just like you would in any team sport or an individual sport like track and field. So I don't know. I think if you want to call yourself an athlete, that's totally fine. When I think of an athlete, you know, I'm thinking of the traditional team sports related. But if if somebody's competing in CrossFit, I consider them an athlete as well. You know, but even for a member, I mean, if you think of yourself as an athlete within here, and you're just worried about seeing results over time, getting your Fran time better than it was in 2020, I think that's an athlete. I think more power to you.
For sure. Yeah, we had an argument, me, Carrie, and Josie this morning. And she was like, well, who do you think the greatest athlete of all time is?
We're talking all sports.
Yeah.
Can we answer that? Can we answer that question?
And so he said Floyd Mayweather, because he was counting it as like most dominant victories over decades of time. And I was like,
it's a fair argument.
And I was like, well, but like he only did that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I came down to the conclusion that CrossFitters are have a high level of fitness, but not necessarily a high level of athleticism.
Skill, like the skill. Are you
It's
talking about skill? Or like...
So that's where it's like not tangible, you know, where it's like,
dude, it's
well,
so it's
how do you
it's like going to
define
be
it? What is-
subjective
so
no
that's
matter what you
Yeah.
do with
Yeah.
that,
this
right?
athletes thing started
It's
like
because
last
it's not
night
black
this
and white,
morning,
like,
so
there's
that's why I
no-
just wanted to-
I think it's a fun conversation
Yeah,
though.
I just
Allie, who would you say you
Oh, God.
think is the best athlete of all time across all sports? And then I'll tell you mine.
She's gonna name a javelin thrower.
I was gonna...
Sure. Hey, if that's what she thinks, like you can't like
No.
measure this, right?
Yeah.
It's just impossible.
It's funny because CrossFit coins it as the fittest on earth, right? That like...
But not the
if
best
you're the
athlete.
champion, yeah, but it's like, are you the best athlete ever? I don't know. I think it can't be said because there's too many factors of like what determines the athlete.
Mm-hmm. Did you give Carrie an answer?
No, I was
gonna
just
say,
kind of
yeah.
poking holes at what he was saying.
Yeah.
And so was Josie, but
Yeah.
she named some soccer player, and I was like, I don't get that.
Interesting. Yeah.
Whatever.
If I had to pick one person, I would say Tiger Woods. Back in like specifically like 99 to 2002
So I
was the
mentioned
most
Tiger, and
most dominant person. You want to talk about like reflexes that you have to be a golfer to be that good?
Yep. So what he was saying was that the second half of Tiger's career was not as impressive to make it. So
It's like the last quarter of his career,
Right.
and that really was due to a
Poor
personal
choices.
problem,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, unfortunately. Anyway, let's
Back to Allie.
let's go back to Allie. So somewhere in there, we were talking about how you got involved in CrossFit. What was the first experience like? Like, where did you find it? And then what was the first workout, if you can
So
remember?
after California, I moved to Florida. I went to North Miami.
You've been
And
everywhere.
yeah, I honestly love moving around and
That's cool.
experiencing different places. But anyway, so I moved to Florida. I was working at it was like a speed and strength. It was kind of like for high school, college athletes. It was just your typical gym. But I got invited to go to a Barbells for Boobs event. So it's just, ironic with Morgan and stuff. So I went, and it was 30 clean and jerks for time. And I was like, I can nail this, I'm good at clean and jerk. But I wasn't really. So anyways, I had fun, and all of a sudden I drank the Kool-Aid and signed up for a membership, and that's when I started. So it was October of 2016 that I started CrossFit.
Happy 5-year anniversary. on
Yeah,
that.
it
That
is
was
5
just
years. Yep.
just a few days ago.
Yep.
So where did that turn into? Did you start coaching right away? Did that take time? Talk to us about that story.
Yeah, that took time. So it was a humbling experience. I think my first workout after Grace was like, what's the kettlebell swing 400-meter run? Helen. So I couldn't even finish. I didn't even finish like under the time cap that they provided, and I was so disgusted with myself. Like, it was one of those. So that just fueled my fire, and it was like, okay. So I didn't coach until I actually moved up here to Virginia. So I lived down there for a whole year, and then I moved up here in 2017.
What did you struggle on in Helen?
It was pull-ups. Like, I think I only had one strict pull-up at that time. So the running, I was actually fine with. The running was fine. The kettlebell swings, it was the pull-ups, like the gymnastic. And that's it's the ironic thing, because that's still not that I struggle with pull-ups now, but it's still something that's my weakness, is the gymnastic movements on the rig.
So are you looking at tomorrow's workout and you're like, shit. That's
No, so
hard.
I could do 4-bar muscle-ups. That's fine. It's like the ring muscle up, the high volume kind of thing.
Oh, so you're gonna do ring muscle ups tomorrow, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, tomorrow's workout's gonna be really good. Let's take a break, and then we'll be right back. All right. So you didn't start coaching until you came up here. What brought you back to Northern Virginia?
Part family stuff going on. My family, once I graduated high school, they moved right back down here to Herndon. So they had they had been living here for about 7 years, because I kind of like moved away, went all around. So they'd been here for 7 years. So I just kind of wanted to be a little bit closer to family, all that stuff. So I just moved back here, and then that's when I applied to the fire department. And in the interim, I started coaching. So that's kind of how I got into coaching. It was one of those things, like, I loved fitness. My degree was in exercise science. So I originally thought I was going to go PT, like physical therapy. But I was like, I don't want to do school anymore. I was like, I love fitness, and I felt like there was more to health and wellness than just like being in a clinic, and I wanted to be in a gym.
Question about exercise science.
Mm-hmm.
So I am not college educated, but I've heard from many people like to either praise the level 1 or totally bash it. Obviously, you've been through the collegiate schooling of exercise science and the level 1. What was your, I guess,
assessment?
Yeah, like what is your comparison of both? Because I've heard people where they're like, man, I learned more in a 2-day weekend than I did in 4 years of college.
Yeah, I mean, I'm biased because I thought I had really good professors and it was a smaller school, so I had like 20 people in a class, and so we were very hands-on. We kind of got to manipulate the course schedule and like what we wanted to do and kind of like how everybody was learning. So I was lucky in that standpoint, but with the L1, I think they did a wonderful job of teaching the things that they needed to teach in the time frame they had. I think they did a wonderful, because like I think I had a step up on people too, because it's like I had that 4-year degree. I knew kind of the anatomy, physiology of things, and then so it just added to it like, okay, now we're going to put it into a CrossFit perspective. But I think the L1 was wonderful. But yeah, I also loved my college education though, just for what I got to learn.
What did you study in like your 1 or 2 semesters of college, man?
I'm thinking the same. Oh, me?
You, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So I went in with studying chemistry.
Chemistry.
Interesting.
Because
Okay.
I loved chemistry in high school. I was talking to Kelly about this morning, but like I loved my chemistry teacher. She made organic chemistry like so cool to me. And then I got to college and I was like, why am I doing this? I have no desire. And it was literally, I always enjoyed it because the teacher made it so enjoyable. And that's why I chose that. And then, I mean, I made it 4 months into college.
Right.
Out, so.
Interesting. Fun sidebar about me with chemistry. I was a terrible student in high school.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And I really didn't pay attention at all in class. I was failing the class sophomore year of high school. And like we had a final and like I got it. I wrote my name on it, gave it to my teacher. And just left. Sophomore year of high school, which is astounding for me to think about.
Yeah.
Because like now, like I love to learn and I love to read and I love to do all these things. And like looking back at that, I'm like, I can't believe, 15-year-old dumbass Brandon.
That's awesome.
That. So
guess what? Learned nothing.
Yeah. So and it was all my fault, right? Zero application. So anyway, fun fact about Coach Brandon there, guys. Allie, so going back to you here. So you're a firefighter, or were? Are you still doing that? And why did you want to get into firefighting?
So I'll tell you why I wanted to get into it. It was something that I wanted to still be athletic. I wanted to do something that was different every single day. I wanted to do something that helped people. So I was like, oh, and then, I got shoved down my throat of like, oh, you need to have a career. You need to have a career kind of thing. So I was like, okay, firefighting. I can do that. I get paid. I get benefits. I get all that fun stuff. So, I went through the academy. And honestly, I love the job. The thing that I was not prepared for was the emotional and like mental taxing of the job.
It's a job. So I read Rich's book first, and he goes into pretty explicit detail because he's fought fires for a while as well. Yeah. Just about being a first responder, what it's like to watch somebody die.
Yes.
That's stuff that I can't even fathom, and I'm not willing to do that job because I couldn't go through something like that. So thanks for doing that job for however long. Are you still doing it right now?
No, so I did it for 2.5 years. I actually just recently resigned.
Okay.
2 weeks ago was technically my last day.
I gotcha. Okay, cool. And why did you want to leave? Was it because of the mental stuff and everything like that?
I think it was a combination of everything. I think with COVID and like you kind of reevaluate what's going on in life.
For sure.
I think I realized like what was happening at work was affecting me in my actual personal life. Like it became such a detriment that I was like, okay, I'm going down a bad path. And it wasn't like, like woe is me, or it was just like I couldn't handle the negative impacts and the mental and emotional stress of the job because it kept coming back into my real life. Like I found myself angry, like super angry. I found myself like not wanting to connect with people and wanting to isolate. And I was like, because I was spending so much energy and so much mental capacity on my job, which I I love doing, but it's like once I got out of it and I got to go home, I didn't like, everything was a mess. And like I couldn't think straight. I couldn't like picture what emotion was supposed to go where.
Yeah.
So it was like one of those things. So it's like, I'm glad I did it because I learned a whole hell of a lot, but it's like I was like, okay, let me take a step back and figure out how can I reevaluate like what I want in my life.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Monroe, what about you, man?
No, I definitely can. I mean, like leaving, and that's scary because like I quit my job to pursue this, and I quit my job before it was like financially made sense, and like me and Morgan were both bartending, making tons of cash, and like I remember for months afterwards she like multiple times was like, you should have stayed bartending, like this just totally screwed us over. And now it's like it's exactly like where we both want to be. And sometimes it takes being like and I always tell people like follow your heart, like whatever your heart is telling you. Like your brain will tell you something, but listen to whatever your heart's saying.
Absolutely.
And if your heart tells you that this isn't right, it doesn't really matter. Like you need to figure that out. And if you make a change, sometimes that will really help you figure that out.
Yeah. And to be honest, you have to risk a lot to get a lot. And that's exactly like my mindset of like, if you don't go after what you want, you're never going to get what you want.
They say no risk it, no biscuit, right?
Dude, I love that you guys brought up risk, because I mean that's a massive assessment in life, right? And so I've done that multiple times, right? I took the plunge coming from Michigan. I had no job, right? Well, I had a job. It didn't pay me anything though. Yeah. And so I just got up, I moved. I had like $1,000 in my bank account, and I was like, all right, I'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
Now I'm not totally suggesting that for those that are listening, but Monroe made a change that fiscally didn't make a ton of sense, but he was like, okay, this investment long term, one, two, it's going to be something that I love to do. Right now, his situation sounds very similar to that, right? And back when I like started like recruiting, dude, I had no idea what I was doing. And I've said on this podcast before that I wasn't good at that job. It's no longer the case anymore, right? That's awesome, Allie. So what's the plan kind of going forward now?
Honestly, like I've loved just being here. It's
an awesome place to be.
It's been a blessing, to be completely honest. Like it gave me kind of that fresh start. So I'm still in the process of like figuring out exactly what I want to do. But Monroe and I actually had a conversation, and I remember, like, I don't know if he'll remember it, but this was right before I started coaching here.
And how long ago was this for? Because
you've
been here
probably like a month.
Twice.
I've been here. Yeah, I've been here like.
I hope I remember this.
Yeah, but it was when I think you first found out that I decided to resign from the fire department. So you looked at me, you're like, "What are you gonna do?" And I was like, "Well, I love working out and I love coaching people." And you literally are like, "Then why aren't you doing it?" And I was just like.
You're like, well, I don't have my health benefits.
Yeah, and I was like, I
haven't had health insurance for like 5 years. Like.
Yeah, I was thinking so practically, but he like, and that literally, I went home that day, and that was like light bulb moment. I was like, holy crap, you're absolutely right.
I wasn't trying to do that.
Well, you're so philosophical.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dude, Monroe will hit you with those like Monroeisms, and you're just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It's like seems so obvious in the moment, but you don't think about it, and then he hits you with it, and so it's just incredible. Okay, what are you trying to accomplish as a CrossFit athlete? What are you working on in fitness right now? What are you working towards?
Honestly, to be a better athlete, and I know Monroe doesn't like to hear that, but I want to be more competitive. So whether that's individually or as a team somewhere, I think for me, like I just want to be a part of something bigger than myself. I want to continuously work hard and at the things that I suck at, whether that's gymnastics or even just lifting heavier. Like for me, it's coming in here every single day with a mindset of I'm going to get better.
Yeah. You went to DC Throwdown. Is that correct? How'd that go?
It was awesome. I loved it. We had a lot of fun. I loved watching Monroe and Jordan show off.
Show off? What are you talking about, show off?
Dude, you needed to. I had no idea that you were going to be down there. I don't know if I was here, but I remember hearing that, and I was like, if I would have known, I would have went, and watched you and Jordan go at it. But I didn't know you guys were there. So, what were the events? What did you enjoy? What did you learn?
So we did teams. So I did it with Ben Bello. I kind of just was thrown in there last minute. His partner bailed on him, so I was
Yep.
like, oh, sure, yeah, cool, yeah. So
Yeah,
it was like,
I heard of that, and
Yeah.
that was very kind of you to
I was
jump
just
in
like,
and do it.
hey, sure, let's go for it. But I had so much fun. I can't even remember. We did like a row and max snatch workout. That was like 4 rounds of that, or 3 rounds. Was it 3 rounds? And then we did.
It's just,
What are you laughing at?
just the whole event.
Okay.
Allie just like,
I have no idea what I got myself into. Okay.
it was just
Yeah.
funny. It was just a good time.
Unfortunately, I was very oblivious to everything that had gone on prior to me saying I'd do it. But
I gotcha.
It was just a fun event. Like,
Yeah.
there was, which is on video. I think I have a video of it. But like, they're like doing these. I think it was snatches. And she was just like, looks at Ben. She's like, strip your bar. It was just like, move on. Like, I got this.
I'm gonna finish this
It was
work.
it was just awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. She just like handled her business. It was just cool to watch.
I'll say, I feel like I have an alter ego. You put me in a competition floor, like, I just turn into a different person.
Like an assassin.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah, it was cool to
I'm
watch.
going to get it done.
And I remember I was talking to you afterwards, and I was
Yeah.
like,
You're like, hell
you've
yeah.
got that, like,
Yeah.
I want to kill myself to do this. This
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so super stoked to have you, and I hope that, I can continue to provide an environment that helps you grow.
Yeah.
And, I love, Bailey asked us for our, like, coaches' bios and, like, what do you love about coaching? And, like, I think I put, like, oh, I love, like, watching people make transformations, but, like, I love working with really high-level people and getting people that are, like, super aware of their body and super athletic to understand what I think I can understand. And so, like, getting you to understand, like, a little bit tweaks with muscle-ups. Because
Yeah.
it's, like, you can coach someone at such a high level that, like, has that athleticism to where it's, like, they can make a little tweak and it just, like,
It's like
everything
night and
fixes.
day, yeah.
And it's like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
So those are super cool moments. So
No.
it's
And I
cool having
appreciate you, like, taking, 15, 20 minutes. Like, that's what a true,
course.
like, coach and friend does. So I love it.
What do you need to work on most within CrossFit?
Rig gymnastics, 100%.
Which ones?
Butterfly pull-ups, butterfly chest to bar, and then muscle-ups. Those are, like, my 4. I mean,
It's been a good week for you to work
yeah,
on that.
yeah. And that's on, like, I'm attacking them and making sure that those are not going to be my weaknesses anymore. So
That's
So-
awesome.
So I heard you have a coach.
I do have a coach.
Let's talk about this.
Yes. What do you want to talk about? Just
What your I guess plan is, what your strategy is, what your theory is, why. I don't know who it is. I don't know
Yeah.
why. I don't know what.
so I took a step away from, like, doing CrossFit. I was still in a CrossFit gym at the time, but this past, probably from February of 2021 to about August, September, I only did 90-minute workouts from, I don't know if you know Marcus Philly.
I love Marcus
So I did
Philly.
his Persist program, and it was not, there's no heavy barbell. There's, you do interval training. I did that for literally probably 6 or 7 months. And it was something that I needed because I was going through the fire department. We were going through having to work extra days, like all that stuff. So I kind of was like, I need to just chill and coast right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did. And then starting September, I went to a competition in Pittsburgh, and that's what, like, kicked me in the butt. And I was like, this is what I want to do. Like, why am I not going after it? And that's literally what changed my mind. So I was like, I'm gonna get a coach. I'm gonna start doing CrossFit again. And then,
So who's your coach?
his name's Adam Fetter. So he works under Marcus Philly. So he still does a lot of, like, the revival strength stuff, but he is more tailored to CrossFit athletes. So he actually competed. He was a CrossFit Games athlete. I don't remember when, but now he's doing Olympic lifting, like, nationally.
So what is your experience working with a coach? Because I've had a coach in the past as well when I was
Yeah.
pursuing the regionals in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
What's your opinion? How do you?
So this is the first time I've ever worked really with, like, a one-on-one coach. So I've been doing it for about a month now.
Is it what you expected?
Yes, I think because when you get to a certain level too, like I don't need my hand to be held. Like I don't need to be talked to every single day. You can write out a program and like I'm gonna do it. Or if I have a question, I know I can reach out. So it's kind of simple to coach more elite athletes in a sense. It's more of a like mentality that you have to kind of get through to them of like more is not better all the time.
Coming back into it here, guys. Coach, you got Monroe. You got anything else that you want to ask Allie over here? Otherwise, I'm going to ask a couple quick fire questions, and then we can do closing thoughts there, bro.
I'd like to know about your sleeve because I think it's sick, and I'm about to go get tattooed in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. So the whole kind of theme behind it is beauty for ashes. So I actually have, you're not gonna be able to see it, but I have a half lion, and then the other half is the mandala. So it's like you make up the other half of the lion, whatever you want it to be. And then I have like the Star of Life, and then I just have mandalas and flowers throughout.
Who did it?
2 artists did it. One was from Exposed Temptations out in Manassas.
Who?
Great Jose.
Mm.
He was a great artist. And then Leah Walters, she did it from Bethesda. This bottom half.
Exposed Temptations, like 15 years ago.
They have wonderful artists if you do want to get a tattoo. So.
For sure.
Monroe, what are you getting?
I'm getting a traditional owl on my back.
Ooh.
Like the whole back?
Yeah,
Draw this for me, man.
Like my shoulder blades, like my whole upper back.
That's going to be sick,
man.
dude.
And it's going to be clutching a little lightning in a bottle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
I can't wait.
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm excited, yeah.
Will Shen, it was over here. He gifted me a Ryan Holiday's book, the Daily Stoic.
Oh yeah.
I read a couple, and I started listening to Daily Stoic podcast, and like I've just really kind of started to take those. There's 4 Stoic virtues, which is wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. And temperance is the one that I struggle with the most. And so that's just kind of like, wisdom is for the owl. So that's just kind of like, I don't know.
I love it.
It's just something that
Love it.
Yeah. Wisdom for me, I've got gray hair coming into my beard and on top of my scalp, man. Give me about 5 years, it's gonna all be salt and peppered and everything like that. Allie, just a couple quick fire questions here, and then we'll kind of get into some closing thoughts. So we talked about what you needed to work on. What are your favorite things to do in CrossFit?
Oh, the barbell. Give me a heavy barbell any day.
Clean jerk.
Yes, nice clean jerk.
Which
man.
Clean jerk.
Oof.
That girl.
Yeah, all day, all day.
Favorite workout that you have?
Ooh. I want to say probably DT.
Oh my gosh.
Yuck.
Dude, the last time I did DT, I thought I was going to pass out. We're polar opposites in that, but great workout. Fantastic test of just stamina on the barbell. I love that. If you were going to beat Monroe in one workout, what would it be and why?
I'm pretty sure I beat him in the workout on Monday. Did I beat you?
No.
I was close. Any workout that involves pistols, any workout that has pistols in it, I will.
Trash. She was like, yeah, my wife came home. I was like, yeah, just trying to keep up with Allie, trying to just beat her off the wall every time. She's like dying. She's like, yeah, she said you're really slow at pistols. I was like, she said that? It's like, that's awful.
No,
how
she said it. I just agreed with her.
Sick. That's better.
Awesome. And then for the listeners on here, can they find you on social media? If so, where?
Yes, I'm only on Instagram, but it's AllieGirl_12.
Perfect. All right, man. Let's go into closing thoughts here. Monroe, what did you learn about Allie, and what do you want to say to our listeners here?
What did I learn about Allie? I think I learned a lot about Allie, but I think it's just more context to the relationship that I already had with her, which is cool. What do I want to say to the listeners? If you are a guy, join the Verity Mustache Men. And we're
dude, you got to post about that. Make sure you post about that. That's super cool.
60 Metcons. So if you want to jump in, let me know.
Absolutely.
Cool. Everything that I heard today, I pretty much learned about Allie. I told her that prior to the podcast. I was like, I don't really know your story. I just know that you came in here. You're super cool, obviously, very intelligent, good athlete. But it was awesome to get to hear your story out there. And I love what we talked about with risk. So with people in life, if you're afraid to go do something, I think some of the best stories you'll ever have is when you take on fear just kind of head on, right? Whether that's, I don't know, jumping out of a perfectly good airplane with a parachute on there or just changing jobs or careers or whatever that's going to be. I love that we talked about that. Allie, last word for the listeners here, and then we'll close it out.
Somebody once told me no one ever regrets being brave. So I think leaving it with that, just
good.
Go after it. And you know what? You're going to be able to achieve whatever it is you want, as long as you risk it all. So that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, if you guys could give us a like and a share over there on YouTube, that'd be great. If you guys are listening on one of the podcast applications, particularly on iTunes, if you guys can go over there, give us a 5-star review. That would be greatly appreciated. Those have since gone up since we transitioned the branding of the podcast, but that would be helpful. Allie, Monroe, thanks so much, you two. You're listening to the Verity Podcast.